Easter is just a week away, which means today is the official start of Holy Week. On this Palm Sunday, groups in Denver are celebrating at churches all across the city. Some congregations took to the streets to carry palms on their way to the Sunday service. The branches signify the palms that the crowd laid in front of Jesus as he rode into Jerusalem. Meanwhile, across the globe, Pope Francis welcomed thousands of Catholics to St. Peter's Square for Palm Sunday. In his remarks, the Pope condemned attacks on Coptic churches in Egypt that killed at least 44 people. More than 100 people are recovering from injuries from those bombings tonight. The bombings happened at two separate churches in Tanta and Alexandria, Egypt. New video shows the moments before a bomber entered the church in Alexandria. This comes after an ISIS affiliate vowed more attacks on Christians back in December. An ISIS affiliate claimed responsibility for both bombings, but that has not yet been confirmed by NBC News. A 17-year-old male was arrested today in connection with an improvised explosive device found in Norway. The device was located near a busy subway station in downtown Oslo. In response, Norwegian police raised the national threat level earlier today.
The assessment now, for the next 2 months, is that it is likely that a terrorist act could happen in Norway.
Officials did not release the suspect's name. They did say, however, that he arrived in Norway seeking asylum from Russia. The head of Norway's security service says the suspect was part of an Islamic extremist group. The U.S. is ramping up its presence near the Korean Peninsula. The Pentagon says a Navy carrier strike group is on its way to the western Pacific Ocean. This just days after a new missile test by North Korea. The situation has been top of mind for the president as he works with leaders from China and South Korea. This week, President Trump hosted the Chinese prime minister. Yesterday, he spoke on the phone with South Korea's acting president, Hwang Ko-yan. According to the White House, the two leaders agreed to keep in close touch about developments with North Korea. The Syrian airbase that took heavy fire from a U.S. missile attack is back up and running. Russian TV shows aircraft taking off from the base. Now, that's despite damage from nearly 60 Tomahawk missiles. The airbase is one of the largest, and it's really one of the most important for the Syrian regime. The message here, the airstrike is not halting operations. We want you at home to have a better understanding of all sides of the conflict in Syria. So today we spoke with Nader Hashemi. He heads up the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Denver. Nader, on Meet the Press today, UN Ambassador Nikki Haley said that the Trump administration does not see any potential for peace under Assad. Do you agree with that assertion?
Well, absolutely. I think anyone who knows anything about Syria knows that the one individual who is largely responsible for the 500,000 deaths that have taken place in Syria, which is Bashar al-Assad, cannot be a source for stability over the short, medium, or long term. So I think she is bang on point with respect to that comment. The real question is, how do we get him out? And critically, what happens next after he leaves? I think that has to be part of a bigger, grand strategy with respect to U.S. policy towards Syria.
Help us understand what the politics there making this so complicated. Of course, ISIS is a huge power there, and it seems like the enemy of our enemy is also our friend, but that's not exactly the case. So can you explain briefly the complicated politics of that region for us?
So now, 7 years into this war, as we're entering the 7th year, you have a conflict that is comprised of many actors. Russia's significant intervention in September of 2015 has tilted the balance of power, along with Iran backing the Bashar al-Assad regime on the ground, where you have a situation where they now are in the driver's seat and have been in the driver's seat, controlling the battlefield conditions, controlling the nature and the direction of this conflict, while the once moderate rebel forces have now basically been decimated, and you have a series of radical extremist groups who really are the other actors on the ground. And then, of course, you still have Bashar al-Assad, who's in Damascus, backed by Russia, backed by Iran, dropping chemical weapons on his own civilians, destabilizing the world. So in a nutshell, that's really, I think, the context and the background to where we are today.
Okay. Nader Hashemi, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nomination of Neil M. Gorsuch of Colorado to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is confirmed.
Federal Appeals Court Judge Neil Gorsuch will take his oath of office for the Supreme Court tomorrow. His confirmation comes after a battle in the Senate. In the end, Republicans changed the rules to allow him on the court with a simple majority rather than 60 votes. Gorsuch will take his oath in the White House Rose Garden tomorrow at 11 in the morning. A manhunt is underway for a Wisconsin man who police say stole more than a dozen guns. Officers are searching for 32-year-old Joseph Jakubowski. He's suspected of stealing firearms and making threats to several targets, including schools. Authorities found video of Jakubowski on his way to send a 161-page manifesto to President Trump.
Today is the day. So remember this face. Game time.
Hours later, police headed to a gun shop that was burglarized. 30 minutes after that, a car registered under his name burst into flames nearby. Jakubowski has a record that includes a felony for trying to steal a gun from a police officer. If you have any information on his whereabouts, please call the number at the bottom of your screen. Thousands of people marched through the streets of Dallas today calling for immigration reform. Activists carried signs and waved American flags in today's march. Organizers say they want to end aggressive deportation efforts. Martin Luther King III was on hand to deliver that keynote address.
What's important about this demonstration, in my judgment, is it's Christians, it's Muslims, it's Jews, it's Hindus, it's people who may not have a belief, but the fact that people, Americans, are coming together saying we as America can and must do better.
This year's theme was family, unity, and community empowerment. The march ended with a rally outside of Dallas City Hall. Also in Texas, take a look at this. Demolition crews brought down an office building in a controlled implosion today. The building sat vacant for nearly a year before the blasts took it down. The tower was built in the 90s and it was used to house offices of an oil and gas company. That video is always striking, isn't it? Coming up, your thoughts on the situation with Syria and a beautiful place in our state that's becoming the victim of its own popularity. And music legend Chuck Berry was laid to rest earlier today. We'll tell you what he brought with him. That's next. A very rude awakening indeed. 156 outdoor warning sirens went off at once in Dallas, but there were no active emergencies or severe weather threats in the area at the time. Officials think that there was a hack from the Dallas area that caused those sirens to go off. Firefighters had to manually shut off every siren, and that took about 4 hours. Oof. President Trump ordering a missile attack in Syria, a nature spot that's just attracting too much attention. We had a lot going on this week, and you at home had a lot to say about that. Here's Kim Christensen with our 9 Listens report.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says Russia and Iran bear, quote, great moral responsibility for dozens of deaths in Syria caused by an apparent poison attack.
A horrific chemical weapons attack on civilians in Syria. It led to President Trump's decision to launch dozens of missiles against a Syrian military base. Some comments: message sent. Can't get those chemically poisoned victims out of my mind. Some of the president's critics believe this limited strike was the right decision. I am not a proponent of war in any way, but I also don't want to live in a world where our country sits back and watches tyrants murder their own innocent people.
In the last 3 years, the number of annual visitors has increased by almost 50,000. That's leading to some changes starting in 2018. You won't be able to park there. You'll have to take a shuttle instead.
It is a place that leaves people speechless, the breathless beauty of Hanging Lake. However, no one was speechless about a story we posted about the growing problems there. Last summer, 137,000 people visited, and there are proposed changes to deal with these crowds. Hundreds of comments to us. I remember hiking Hanging Lake when you encountered 5 or 6 people the entire way. It is a shame. The state is no longer the way it was when I loved it. It has changed, and unfortunately, not for the better. Some shared personal experiences. We had 2 women in a screaming fight over our parking spot when we left. This was 5 years ago. I cannot imagine it now. I'll never go back. We also have stopped hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park and no longer visit that area or Estes Park because of the same reasons. And thoughts for protecting it. It's a beautiful hike. Maybe there needs to be tickets, certain number of people a day. I'd hate to see it ruined.
Denver took a commanding 2-0 lead in the first thanks to the effort of Will Butcher.
Finally, a big response to 2 sports stories, many sending kudos to the DU Pioneers on just an incredible season and sending good wishes to the Colorado Rockies. We love the photos, your dogs, your babies, your kids, all dressed in purple. Thanks for your comments, and remember, 9 listens.
We always want to hear what you have to say. You can leave comments at KUSA@9news.com, or you can send us a message on the 9 News Facebook page. Prices at the gas pump might keep going up across the country. The average price of regular grade gas went up 9 cents during the past 2 weeks. That's according to a report from the Lundberg survey. They say that the increased oil prices and the U.S. missile attack on Syria contribute to those rising prices. The national average sits at $2.43. That's 33 cents higher than a year ago. The world said goodbye to a rock and roll legend today. Chuck Berry was buried near his hometown of St. Louis. Berry took his famous cherry red Gibson ES 335 with him. It was bolted to the inside lid of his casket. Berry passed away nearly 3 weeks ago at age 90. We'll be right back. And for your adorable animal video of the day, some giant pandas at a research center in China were caught wrestling. It is so cute. The video shows the mother-daughter duo sort of pawing around in an outdoor playground, and that's when one of them just struggles to hold on, falls to the ground, but you know, they've got all that padding, so it's okay. The next day, 2 more pandas wrestled on a tree with a similar result. It's not all work at that research center, you know. There's a lot of good times there. Oh, isn't that cute?
He's like, all right, brush it off.
Adorable. Something to share on your Facebook page. You're welcome, Denver.
Of course, who wouldn't want to see cute pandas?
And nobody doesn't want to see cute pandas. Yeah. It's a scientific fact. That's what they're studying at the research center, actually.
All right. All right. Good to know they're hard at work out there. Great looking forecast for you over the next couple of days. A little bit warmer tomorrow, 60 the high. Less wind tomorrow starting after midnight. And then Tuesday, 69 the high, 72 for Wednesday, close to 80 on Thursday. Of course, that comes with a catch because wind will return. In fact, it'll be windy Thursday, breezy Friday and Saturday. Looks like Easter's going to be dry with a high of 73. And check out the Monday after high of 80 before finally a chance for rain shows up in the planting forecast.
We need that this time of year.
Yeah, we do. Badly.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us. We're back at 9 and 10.